Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and on this episode of Lost Film File, I'm going to talk about my best friend's birthday. My best friend's birthday was Quentin Tarantino's first film that you haven't heard about. It was made from 1983 to 1987 with him and his friends who were working at the video store Video Archives and had been working on it for 5 years. The legend goes that only 36 minutes of it survived, which is now on YouTube, and the other 34 minutes were lost in a lab processing fire. And that's the legend that I've always heard. Until on reading up on it, that might not really be as true as we once thought. Now, my best friend's birthday is about two characters, Mickey and Clarence. Clarence is played by Quentin Tarantino, and Mickey is played by Craig Hayman. This was Craig's film originally. He started it off and was writing it, and then Quentin Tarantino sort of took over completely. But they are playing the two leads. Clarence is trying to have like the greatest birthday ever for his friend Mickey. That's basically the plot of the script, because I actually did find the script of it, or a script of it. I don't know if that was the final shooting script or whatever that is, but I read a script of my best friend's birthday, and that's basically the plot. Is he's trying to make sure he has the best birthday ever, even gets a call girl to come to his house. All sorts of hijinks ensue from there. They talk a lot about Elvis, and a lot of other stuff happens. I mean, in some ways this film is sort of like, you know, Clerks, or She's Got a Habit, or Chan is Missing, or any of like the kind of cheapo black and white kind of 80s or 90s Stranger Than Paradise kind of indie films, but it's not really that good. I think a lot of the acting in it, although Tarantino is really good, and Craig Hammond is pretty good in it. Well, he's alright. I think Tarantino is really the star of this whole thing. It's just like, it's a little rough. I mean, it's clearly just a bunch of scenes put together. You know, you can see echoes of Tarantino, but like if you're watching this and not knowing who he was, I don't see why you'd have much interest in it. It's almost funny that like Kevin Smith made a better version of anything than Quentin Tarantino, but I think the thing that Kevin Smith got was he understood like he couldn't really do much with it, whereas I think in this, Tarantino didn't really know how to do things with it. I think it was just like them messing around and learning stuff from it, and that doesn't honestly make really the best watch. They got to work on it a lot over the weekends between working at Video Archives, where Quentin Tarantino famously worked as a video store clerk with people like Roger Avery and a lot of the people who helped make this film. Quentin Tarantino has often referred to this as his film school, as he did not like go to film school. Now, what happened with this film and how this legend started, that seems a little hazy. But basically, as Roger Avery has flat out said,
and Quentin never really finished that movie. We never got the finishing funds for it.
So it was always unfinished. And any documentary I could find that had Quentin Tarantino talking at Video Archives or talking about his past had the film and had the parentheses unfinished under it. It seems to me, at least, I don't know, that they both kind of acknowledged that it wasn't a finished film, like they just ran out of steam and stopped doing it. And Quentin Tarantino has talked about how when he saw the finished footage, he just kept shooting and shooting for years and years, and then when he could actually have the money to develop this film, when he saw it, he was deeply depressed about it, and it gave him the motivation to make things like True Romance, where he used many elements of this film in, and Reservoir Dogs and other screenplays, and really like trying to get himself in gear to work on movies. The question is, how did it get this reputation? Now, there's a previous sort of first film from Quentin Tarantino, which was called Lovebirds in Bondage. Now, this film was destroyed. No one's seen it. It was made in 1983 by another friend of Quentin Tarantino's from Video Archives, Scott McGill. Scott McGill claimed that his mother had burned all the footage. Almost everyone, including Tarantino, apparently believed that he had burned all the footage. Supposedly, the only one who is cast is Quentin Tarantino, and several people refer to a Quentin Tarantino love scene in it, but as I don't think anyone's seen it, including Quentin Tarantino, I don't actually know how anyone knows that. I think that's like super weird. I've always been confused by that comment. Lovebirds in Bondage, as it's called, was burned up or destroyed completely. So I sort of think, because a few people, and Film Threat, the only article I could find that was kind of the same perspective as I have on it, is that it's sort of a lost film, but not really, in terms of like that the fire thing, no one's sure where it came from. They kind of insinuate that Quentin Tarantino had said that in an interview somewhere at some point when he was doing a million talk shows during the success of Pulp Fiction. I couldn't find any concrete proof that he did that. I know he did make up some stuff during that period. I've heard that before. I've actually never heard any interviews where he's actually done that, by the way. I sort of think people took part of that original story of Lovebirds in Bondage and made it about this. Or they bought a bootleg of this because the one interesting thing about My Best Friend's Birthday is it popped up in film festivals and on like at comic book conventions and at bootleg stores all over the place all of a sudden. Many people think Quentin Tarantino himself is behind this in secret, especially since he has never fought to get this taken away from bootlegs or on YouTube or any film festivals. He's apparently been aware of it. Maybe he isn't, maybe he doesn't care. I don't know, but everyone's thought it's a little odd that this is just sort of out there and no one's stopping anybody, which is interesting if you think about it. I don't think this film is lost in terms of what it is, but what the cut and that we have out is kind of a different situation. Now, I agree with Roger Avary, and it looks like this film was just unfinished. Roger Avary, who helped with the story of Pulp Fiction, I guess he's credited by, and won an Oscar for Pulp Fiction along with Quentin Tarantino, has kind of been very, this was our film school, is just how we learned filmmaking and things like that. What I think this is, and Film Threat kind of goes on about it, is kind of a show reel for the actors in it, them being Craig Hammond and Quentin Tarantino. Because if you read the script, or at least the script that I could find, which is more in the 90-page range, so I'm super confused about this 70-minute thing. It's just kind of like various scenes from it. It's not actually like a complete film, really, if you watch it, especially if you read the script, because like the opening thing where Quentin Tarantino is talking about Eddie Cochran, which is a nice little monologue, is not until page 5 of the script. And it is weird seeing a Quentin Tarantino script that isn't word for word in the movie, because that's often how it is if you've ever read his screenplays before. That was interesting because words were not exact as they were on page. But it's sort of in a different order. There's things that don't make sense. The emphasis on it being Mickey's birthday isn't really as there. It's sort of there, but not. There's whole sections that are completely missing. There's like parts that are just black, almost like someone wanted to easily be able to cut out a section to send to a casting agent or something. I'm just saying it's like kind of really there. And it's a very good showcase for both Quentin Tarantino and Craig Hammond. I think with Craig, people walk in on him in the shower twice, which is like, all right, dude. And then Quentin Tarantino, who admits he has a foot fetish in it, which is interesting.
Yeah, but I have a foot fetish, so it kind of evens itself out.
I did think the script is more about their birthday party and them having this fun one night in Torrance, California. It's more of a fun read than it is a movie. I recommend the script. I'll have a link below, but I've noticed anytime I've read it, it's disappeared from the internet from the former link it was. So if that is wrong when you're watching this, I apologize. It's probably the worst Tarantino thing I've ever seen, but I also think that's sort of like par for the course, as this very much was his film school. And he's admitted that. And Roger Avary's admitted that. No one else has really talked on the matter. I'm a little surprised by that. Craig Hammond later would go on to be a drug consultant, apparently, according to a Vanity Fair article on Pulp Fiction, because he was a former heroin addict, and did go on to direct Boogie Boy, which I've never seen. I think this is not really a lost film, but I do think there potentially could be more footage out there from it. I don't think there's probably a finished cut, because it sounds like everybody kind of looked at what it was and wasn't that into it. But there might be footage somewhere of some of it at some point or something. But the question is, do you really need more of this? Because as I've researched this and read the script and watched it more than twice, I'm honestly not really in the need to ever watch it again in my entire life. It's not necessarily bad in the sense that I'm like mad at the filmmakers or it's the worst thing ever. It's more in the case of, it's just like, this was someone's early learning of filmmaking, and I'm watching it and kind of going through it and trying to like understand it, but I don't think this is the kind of film you really do that with, and it's not made to do that clearly. It's just so someone can learn filmmaking, and it successfully did that, and it started Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avary off on better careers, especially more so Quentin Tarantino, as he used certain elements in True Romance, including the whole call girl thing. Seems very similar to what happened with the character Patricia Arquette plays in True Romance. The whole Elvis monologue about how the only man he would fuck, or if he had to fuck a man, it would be Elvis Presley. That's in here first. Other things, they work at a radio station called K-Billy. Call signs are KBLI, which that is in Reservoir Dogs. Aldo Ray calls one of the girls at one point, which is is an actor Quentin Tarantino is very much into, and was obviously also what Brad Pitt's character was named after in Inglourious Basterds. There's some Sonny Chiba stuff, which was also in True Romance, but also he just likes Sonny Chiba, so I don't know about that one. And the other thing that is not in the movie, but is in the script, is in it he gives his friend Mickey a VHS tape of Rio Bravo for his birthday, which is Quentin Tarantino's favorite movie. If you're a completist with Quentin Tarantino, I recommend it because you kind of see like he pretty much liked all the same crap in the early 80s that he's liked forever, which is not that surprising. It's kind of an interesting watch if you're a fan of his. I don't think I'd recommend it otherwise, especially if you're in film school and you're like, how do I get from where you are to there? This is like an interesting film to watch on that regard. Is there any more of this lost? I think possibly, but I think this whole like was lost in a fire thing is kind of not real at all. I think it's just oftentimes with lost media or media that's just kind of lesser known, people make up myths about it to give it a little more importance. And it sounds cooler that part of his film was lost in a fire, but I've never really heard of that in like 1987. Like that's more of a 1920s thing, really. That sounds neater than, I don't know, we just stopped making it because it sucked. But I think in terms of what it gave to Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery and that group of people, and how it gave them some confidence to get more into filmmaking and into the film business, it is sort of an essential step in their lives. It's just maybe not an essential step that any of us really need to watch or mythologize. It's just something that helped motivate them, and I think that's really where its importance lies. Alright, so if you have seen My Best Friend's Birthday or have any theories about it or anything like that and would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.